My name is Logan Ireland. I am a senior airman in the United States Air Force, and I didn't tell my age. My name is Logan Ireland. I'm 27. My name is Logan Beck Ireland. I'm 27 years old, and I'm a senior airman in the United States Air Force, currently stationed in Kandahar, Afghanistan.
Hi, baby. I miss you.
I miss you.
Your hair looks good today.
Your face looks good today.
How's the wedding planning going?
My cousin's gonna be doing the cupcakes like we wanted. So exciting. But tell me about your deployment.
Every time we go to a different location, there's always a whole bunch of kids around. And I had my sleeves rolled up, and they were pointing to my tattoo, like they wanted to see it. I pointed to the ring, and I said, Madame. They get that that's my wife. And then they wanted my ring. Go figure.
I love you.
Love you. So what did your commander say? She like all surprised and stuff?
My commander was a little surprised when I told her. I mean, she didn't really seem too fazed by it. I told her that I was transgender, that I was assigned female at birth. This deployment has really opened up a lot of doors for me and other transgender members that are trying to serve in silence. She seemed all for it.
Contact right!
Well, my mind is completely wired like a guy. Everything I think about, operate, my mannerisms, it's completely male, 100%. So we have 4 bathrooms, and basically everybody just pairs up with one. There's 3 right here. Turn the light on. And this is the one I usually use with one of the other guys. And it locks. Has everything you need. But I just keep all my shots in here and put them in a safe container for afterwards. It's very conspicuous. And in case somebody was to call in there, I have my prescription already put in it. So they can see that it's legal. There's not a lot of people that know that I'm transgender. It's very much on a need-to-know basis. Currently in Afghanistan, there's only a handful, and those people are of higher rank. And then, of course, the people that I came here with from my home station.
How often do you give yourself a shot?
So it's every Friday. When the other guys ask me what being transgender means, I basically say that it's just being assigned female at birth. Your mind does not come in alignment with your body. After doing it every week for over 3 years, you just kind of get used to it. And that's it. What I like about this deployment is I can be my authentic self. I'm just another guy, whereas back home, I'm still seen as female and I go by female regs and standards. Here in Afghanistan, a war zone, it's like a vacation to me because I can be myself in such an austere environment. I will need to tell my commander back in Altus that, look, I am transgender. I stand to lose everything. I stand to lose my career, my future, my foundation. It takes away the service that I've done and that I feel very proudly to have accomplished. It takes all that away.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, is this Lauren?
Yeah.
So, the boys just landed in Dallas maybe about 30, 40 minutes ago, and they're getting ready to board soon. once Logan messages me, I will message you two to let you guys know when they've landed in Lawton, and then we can go from there.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Well, I will talk to you later.
All right, thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The wives and girlfriends of some of the troops that he deployed with, they've been nothing but wonderful throughout the entire deployment. Funny thing is that they don't know. I'm sure that they know about Logan being transgender, but I'm pretty sure, and I'm almost 100% sure that they don't know that I'm transgender. My name is Layla Villanueva. I'm in the United States Army. I'm a healthcare management administration specialist. Been in the military for 12 years. It's a long time. And I'm stationed in Honolulu, Hawaii at Triple Army Medical Center. When I first moved to Hawaii, I had a supervisor who I was able to go to. As long as I came to work and I did what I needed to do, it was perfectly fine. Since then, I've changed supervisors. It's a problem. I've been asked to correct the patients and let them know that they can't use female pronouns. But that in itself causes confusion. The patients are like, "What are you talking about? That is a female." No, that is a male. Hello? Babe,
Where are you?
I'm driving.
Well, I'll message you whenever we leave here, okay?
Yeah, please let me know when you guys are getting ready to get on the bus and head over.
Okay.
Okay, I love you.
Love you. Bye.
That's the bus, Layla.
I always joke around to my friends, that, my lesbian daughter ended up turning out to be my straight son. I have a lot of gay friends and even several gay cousins, but transgender is just not something I've ever heard of. So he had to educate me.
Even my closest friends at work don't know. I mean, we're mechanics, so everybody's got their opinion. They know, my daughter's in the military. It took me a while to come to this point. This didn't happen overnight. I mean, through the growing up years, and when I finally realized the situation, I was just like the guys at work. Same attitude, same, even if it was my son, daughter. It was hard for me to accept. But the bottom line is, this is an American going fighting for your liberties that you have here. I don't care what gender you are.
So we go in, he's like, "Hey man, I just wanted to just thank you for everything you did in Kandahar. We heard really great things about you, and the first sergeant told me about what's going to be going on with you, like He's like, we have your back 150%. Whatever you need to do it. He's like, okay, your blues, you're not wearing them, are you, or are you not? Because you have female blues and those are way out of standards for you. You need to get rid of those. I'm like, no.
So that means...
That means that I get to go buy male blues.
That's exciting.
That
oh my
is
god,
so
that's
exciting.
so exciting.
That is so exciting.
My heart is like pounding really fast.
I got so excited, like, because that's huge. This is a first to my knowledge. You're telling me to screw dressing, and now I'm going by male dress and appearance standards too. So I don't have to grow my hair out. And I can have a mustache.
Because the military is such a manly environment, it is way much more difficult for women to transition than it is for men.
Her unit does not support her whatsoever. They see her as male. They make her use the male restroom. They have her going by male regs and standards.
You know, people think that we're different or sick or whatever their opinions are of us, but we are people too, you know? We live our life and we get married like anybody else, and we want kids and we want a house and we do our jobs. And in that, there shouldn't be any problem for us to serve openly. So.
There are a lot of transgender troops. There's over 15,000 of us, but I know a lot personally. They're getting discharged left and right, and these are good people for the military. You worked alongside of me, we served, we went outside the wire together, we had each other's backs together, right? So you didn't see me any different then, don't see me any different now, and please change your opinion on others like me.
That's a very highly rated op-ed from the New York Times. Sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words, and a story speaks more loudly than all kinds of intellectualization. We just need to hear from people. I always think that if we ever have a discussion about racism, how about we invite a person of color to weigh in? How about that? Or a transgendered person. I have a transgendered member in my family. I don't know if anybody will be ever watching this, or maybe even while we're live, but I would love to have them join us up on panel if they'd like to. A couple nights ago there was a live stream, and I just wanted to, but Jason, welcome, good to see you. I just wanted to mention that there were some things said that were, I believe, not correct. And I wanted to set the record straight tonight. So I have a number of things I want to go through, and hopefully this will help. I'm going to address a live stream a couple days ago. It's on Jeff's, and Samara was making a comment.
Transgenderism is not something that's in the Bible. It is something man created, because they're saying anybody who's transgender, and I don't care if this pisses anybody off, you're saying God made a mistake when he created you. When you were formed in the womb, when he knew you, he screwed up. He made a mistake. Because you're a boy, but you feel like you want to be a girl. Because in society, that's where I think the influence comes from. And I know that's probably going to piss a lot of people off, but that's...
I want to just say, I have never heard anybody ever say that before, that God made a mistake. I don't think that's true. I don't think God is making mistakes. I think life happens, but we'll get into that a little bit more.
That's how I feel.
Well, the modern term transgender, I bring myself back up here. Transgender, that term is quite new. It's not a word they had in ancient times, certainly not in the Bible. It's not in their nomenclature. But you also won't find anything in the Bible about Marxism. You won't find that word, or minimum wage, or inflation. You won't find the words like recession, the internet, social media, AI. You won't find that in the Bible. You won't find anything about cybercrime or weapons of mass destruction or nuclear war either. So sometimes we must see the overall message within the Bible and then try to apply that to our contemporary issues. I think that's very important. However, Jesus does explicitly affirm those that were in a very special sexual category. I want to bring that up for you. And as you can see, it says, read with me, there are eunuchs who were born that way, eunuchs who were made that way by others, and eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. And that's found, it says in Matthew chapter 19, verse 12. Also Isaiah in the Old Testament, chapter 56, says, to the eunuchs who keep my Sabbath, I will give an everlasting name. That's all very positive, isn't it? But the Bible doesn't discuss gender dysphoria. It doesn't address, come back on here, medical transitioning. It's not something, the Bible never condemns people for an internal sense of what their gender is. The Bible never defines gender as purely biological chromosomes or something neurological. The Bible does not talk about transgender as a category. That is true. But it does talk about, as I just showed you, sexual identity. And since that term is a modern one, it's not ancient, the Bible is not going to recognize people who don't fit into the worldview that they knew back in those days. But Jesus explicitly includes these people, as I just showed you, those who don't quite fit. And I also wanted to address the Talmud, which is considered by Jews sacred as the Word of God. Let me bring up for you how the Talmud looks at gender distinctions. Move myself. I made this as simple as possible. The Jewish legal tradition that's what the Talmud is. It's considered, as I said, sacred by Jews as their word, God's word. But it happened during the Second Temple era. And they identify, as you can see there, about 8 genders, right? And this is according to Professor Sarah Liebe of the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College in Philadelphia, her work. And so you can see the first one listed there is a typical male, cisgender male, zakar. That's the Hebrew word, zakar. The one with a phallus, and then below that, nekeva, a female, the one with the hole. Now this is very, very rudimentary. Followed by the androgynos, both male and female. That would have to be a gender understanding of self and expression. And then below that, tum-tum. And that's very important. That's one whose biology is unclear. What we would call today, our own medical science would call intersex. Someone born without clearly identifiable genitalia. And then below that, a lonit hama, which means someone assigned female at birth but naturally develops male characteristics. That's very important. Then below that, a lonit adam, assigned female at birth but develops male characters through human intervention. Now that might be suggesting something a little closer to what we call sexual reassignment. And then finally below that, Saras Hama, assigned male at birth but develops female characteristics. And then the equivalent below that, the last one, Saras Adam, assigned male at birth but develops female character through human intervention. Okay? Having to do with more of a contemporary understanding, I think we would think, to transgender or sexual reassignment. So basically what you're looking at are Talmud laws for someone. It was a rabbinical discussion, basically, in the Talmud. And there were others as well. Let me just fill you in. I'll bring myself back on here. If you looked in the Talmud, you would find laws like I just showed you, or descriptions and conversations about sexual identity and diversity. But they also have discussion about human beings who were born without arms and legs, or someone who was born blind, or born deaf, or someone who became deaf. and all kinds of variants in the human condition. They discuss that. And those aren't alternate identities within a sphere of physical ability by limb count. You don't have enough limbs, so you're doing something wrong. But these people obviously just don't fit perfectly into some people's box. You know, what I mean is that there are people who are born of unknown parentage, half slaves back in those days, and they had to discuss that. How does that work as God's children, one and all? Well, the Bible and the Talmud acknowledge that we have this human diversity. It's not a mistake by God. God's not making mistakes, Samara. It's not a mistake. And so basically, when you have mistakes, or what you might want to think of them as such, it's not that humans are trying to correct God. Humans are trying to correct what happened in the universe by nature, just by design. Sometimes things go wrong. People are born with birth defects. I'll go into that in a little bit here. But the world isn't binary. It's not just one or the other. The world's very imperfect when it comes to, if we want to think of it as binary, because it's very full of diversity, plurality. People don't fit. We don't all look the same. We don't all wear red shirts and drive blue cars. Thank goodness. We're not all 6 feet 6 inches tall, and we're not all blonde haired, or just the diversity within that itself. So, other cultures also, and I wanted to bring up a little something here on that. Here you have an image of what is known in the Native American and Canadian First Nation people as, let's see, their term, second spirit, I believe is how they refer to that. Two-spirit, sorry, it says that right there. Two-spirit people, and that's been around for a very long time. I just don't know if there's any other way to put that, but not just for thousands of years, the acknowledgement within the indigenous cultures, and not just our own, but in South Asia, Polynesia, as I mentioned, the two-spirit people you're looking at here in North America. If you were to go to the southeast in Asia, they also acknowledge and have for thousands of years people who are in a different gender category. That same would be true in Africa and the Middle East. Yes, the Middle East even. And certainly in Europe. They're different. I could go into this in more detail, but I just wanted to mention to you, there is a recognized, that has been for thousands of years, this is not brand new, a third gender. A diverse experience and understanding of the human condition in terms of how we understand gender. This isn't something that's an upstart sort of thing, and let me come on camera here, within our own time frame at all. Let me see where I am here. Okay. So, God didn't screw up. God's not making mistakes. God permits mistakes to happen, though. God permits earthquakes and hurricanes and trees to fall on your house, volcanoes. We have 5 active volcanoes here in Washington State. We had one blow in 1980. Is that God making a mistake? No, it's nature just does what nature does. Jesus explained it this way. He said it rains on the just and the unjust, right? The sun shines on good and bad. Things happen. And it's not God making mistakes when someone is born with a birth defect, without a limb, or born transgendered. That's not a mistake by God. But people are allowed to fix what goes wrong. And I'm sure God's very happy about that, because God gave us the wonderful gift of creativity and medical advancements and science. And we're able to make those advancements. That's not putting the kibosh on God at all. So God didn't make any mistakes, but he does know we live in a world of plurality. And that's really the opposite, now hear this, of rigidity, where some people, they like to forcibly cram people into a box of their own liking, male and female only. Well, good luck with that. Our government's trying to do that now, trying to establish there's only male and female. Well, what are they going to do with intersex people? Because medical science has long told us that is, in fact, a reality, a scientific reality. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But we have to grasp the true meaning of human diversity. We're very different. Viva la différence. It's wonderful. Celebrate it. But unfortunately, there's some people that fear it, probably out of a lack of knowledge. But, we don't have to remain without that information. That would help liberate us from rigid thinking. And that's why the Talmud, which is, by the way, considered sacred law, has an extensive discussion about human gender diversity. And regarding human beings making changes in their personhood, we humans make tons of changes, including our hair color, plastic surgery. Sometimes we require transplants, right? Organ transplants, cataract removal, tooth extractions, fillings. Some tribes make changes with their earlobes and with hoops in their lips. Some human beings take steroids. Some to become bigger and some to become healthier. Lots of reasons. Sometimes people eat too many calories. But we're forever changing. And God's not messing up here. We humans have been given copious amounts of free will and freedom to make changes, and we have to decide which are good and which are not. The Bible can be somewhat of a mirror to help us look at that, of course, and it should. But we change our bodies, and more importantly, we change our minds with education. From the very beginning, the first day we come into the world, we grow physically, right? We get bigger. Mentally, hopefully we get smarter, and emotionally more grounded, and spiritually more centered in faith, in a supreme being. Well, that's a choice. And change is what we do our whole life. What matters is good change, right? Or whether it's not. Some women decide that their bodies are meant for celibacy. And you know what they do when they do that? They enter the convent or the monastery. They abstain without doing that with their body in certain ways and remain unmarried. And we're free to make those changes. When I was born, I had several birth defects. Should I have not touched those? Should the doctors not have performed surgery? Well, they did. And it really helped me to live, to remain alive. They addressed problems that I had, serious ones. It wasn't God's mistake. But humans are able, because of the gift of God, of creativity and ingenuity and discovery, right? And science and medicine and so many fields, God has allowed us to fix problems that simply just don't go right. Sometimes in vitro when we're developing, and if someone's experiencing gender dysphoria, well, that's also very serious in my mind, and I think in the mind of neurologists, people experts that study the brain. They're pointing to that more and more now. That's where dysphoria originates, and I'll talk about that here. Can you imagine someone trying to live their life where society expects you to express yourself according to whether you have a penis or a vagina only? How about the intersex people? What are they going to do? Especially if your brain says quite the opposite. Not dealing with that is a recipe for mental and emotional breakdown, maybe even suicide. This is serious business we're talking about. So transgendered people, if they do not address this dysphoria, which is, by the way, it's a genuine psychological disorder found in and prescribed in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which addresses a clinically significant distress or impairment that can occur. A person's gender identity differs from their sex assigned at birth. And that's a mismatch. It has nothing to do with God. God didn't make a boo-boo. But humans can fix it because God gave us the wherewithal to do that, and we should, right? And to address the dysphoria, which brings anxiety, depression, difficulty functioning in amongst human beings. Well, my physical birth defect would do similar things had it not been surgically addressed. These things need to be done, and oftentimes in surgery, or people will not be able to live their lives. Male and female categories is scientifically incorrect. We're more than male and female. Intersex is clearly scientifically proven. This isn't up for debate. I wouldn't debate anybody on this because it's a scientific fact. There's not two sets of facts here, right? It's not very common. About one child in 5,000 are born intersex. And intersex babies and children are born with physical sexual characteristics like genitals, chromosome, the anatomy that don't fit typical definitions of male and female. They're undetermined oftentimes, right? And so there are tests that can be done, chromosome and karyotyping, hormones, imaging as well. Can look within the human body and find out if there are ovaries and testes and a uterus and what's going on in there. But sometimes birth brings intersex people, rare as it may be, but in effect they are with us. They have both sexual characteristics, genitalia. How do you decide? Who's going to decide? Well, in my personal opinion, the brain is the final court of appeal, and I'll talk about that now. One of the most important factors to consider is the human brain. And the field of neurology, and I'm no expert, but I love to research, I love to learn, they weigh in about the human brain. And let me share with you what some of the more contemporary research brings us. Very important insights, right? So with your sense of who you are and your self-identity, it really is happening not because of genitalia, but because of what's going on up here in the brain, all right? So if you ask me, for example, hey, Stellar, did you choose to be heterosexual? I would say absolutely not. I didn't choose that. I simply acted upon what my brain was informing me about what my inclinations are. I happen to be drawn toward females. I like women. Okay? So that makes me heterosexual. Did I choose it? No. I just am acting upon what my brain informs me and how I am drawn to certain people. Cisgendered people, if they were asked that question, would probably laugh and say, of course we don't choose it. Well, I couldn't possibly choose to be gay. When my cisgendered brain has these inclinations telling me I'm actually attracted to the opposite sex. Well, if that's true, all right, then apply that to those who are begging us to understand that it's not their genitals that send any identity marker, but their brain does. You could have genitals hanging loose, but in the brain saying, nope, that doesn't fit for me. I don't identify with that, right? So that's why I call the brain the final court of appeal. And something happens in neurology, tells us what it is, between the 4th and 6th month of gestation in the mother's womb. All babies are developing, and they're going to have a major surge of hormones, or they're not. By default, if you have let's say you have a baby boy, you have genitals developing, and then in between the 4th and 6th month, there's a sudden surge of hormones, and the brain is bathed with male hormones. Then when the baby's born, the brain and the genitalia are going to work. They're going to be a perfect match. But sometimes during the 4th and 6th month, the brain does not have that surge of male testosterone. The brain is not bathed with male hormones. And the brain remains in a default position, which is female, the default position of human brains. And then you have dysphoria, a brain that identifies itself as female, genitalia that expresses itself as male, and you have dysphoria. So that's when people have to decide what they're going to do. Okay? When they're born, the doctor says, you have a baby boy. But as the child informs the world later on, hey, Mom, I'm a girl. Or vice versa, if it's the reverse of that, female to male. But that's the brain speaking, not the genitals that have the capacity to tell us who we are. And as I say, that's gender dysphoria. When or even if a child should receive puberty blockers or down the road sexual reassignment, that's not an easy question to answer, but I'm going to talk to you about when it does happen and overall happiness, because I heard some things that were addressed on that live stream that were really incorrect. Let's talk about overall happiness and even suicide. The statistics. I'll just give you one. 2021 meta-analysis. 27 studies. That's a big one. Altogether, what they came out with, covering nearly 8,000 transgendered people were studied. all of them had undergone gender affirming surgery, or SRS, sexual reassignment. Only less than 1% that were pooled in the 8,000, less than 1% expressed regret. Now, we're hearing from people who are not informed. These are scientific studies. I mean, you know, it's very important to get unbiased factual information. So that's from a publication from Med and to SRC. I can give you the exact links if you'd like that. But for transgender youth receiving gender-affirming care, hormone, social transition, regret, tiny percentage, less than 1%. Oftentimes that's because of pressure from parents. You know, it can be attributed to family disapproval. Even the church community that disapproves. You know, and that's a huge factor in making the child regret their decision. And the regret rate is so minute to begin with. But it is a pressure, nonetheless. So, let's talk about the armed forces. And just overwhelmingly, those that have suicidal tendencies or ideations about self-harm. I'm not sure if I can use the S word. I guess I did. We'll see if this stays up. Tend to be along the same lines of the study after reassignment. That rate is completely, almost eliminated, because they're at one then. You know, their body and their mind are matching up, and the dysphoria is gone. In the armed forces, because there was some misinformation I heard, you know, this is really interesting. If you look at who serves in the armed forces, among transgendered people, and recently I believe there's a little over 15,000 transgendered adults that served in the military. Now there is a ban now, a current ban as of 2025, but roughly twice as, percentage-wise, twice as many people, according to the general public and the numbers, twice as many people serve percentage-wise that are transgendered than those who are not, who are cisgendered, right? It's around 21.4% of transgendered people serve in the military. That's not quite, but almost a quarter. Well, more than a fifth. 1 out of 5 transgender people served in the military until the recent ban. As I say, that's twice the rate of the general U.S. population, which is roughly 10%. So, you know, is there any evidence that transgender people join the military to get free SRS? I wanted to really look into that and find out the fact that it's actually a myth. It is a myth. It does not happen to any great extent. Most people transition after years of military service, not as a strategy in entering it. You know, it contradicts the idea that people are going in for surgery or to pay for SRS or treatment and hormones and all of that. The total cost of the procedure is a tiny fraction of, if you look into the military budget itself, it's a millionth of a percent. Negligible. And why do transgender people enter the military? I wanted to say this. For the same reasons many people do. Patriotism. Some people go in for employment, stable employment. Educational benefits, yes. Family tradition. Many people have served in our families. There are some who want to escape poverty, and that is a way to do it. I don't look askant at that at all. I think that's probably a good decision. The military can provide a lot of stability. And some just desire to serve, especially in times of the country's need. But I want to finish with a statement. I'll bring it up here. This has to do with a woman who transitioned from male to female, who's a trans woman. And I'm going to bring up her statement for you to take a look at. Remove myself here. I'm going to have to slide it down. I don't know if you can read it. I think you'll be able to. So anyway, what she says is, you'll never understand what it's like to be an immigrant in a foreign land that you now call your home unless you're a transgender trying to understand what it's like to live congruent with your gender. that is in your head, because that is what it's like. She goes on to say, kinky hair, dark skin, slanted narrow eyes, or a thick accent amidst a sea of pale white faces. But even then, the immigrant is accepted as she and he is. She's an immigrant after all. She can't help herself. So eventually she settles in, starts contributing to her adopted country, and they let her be. But the transgender person has to pass 100% of the time to be normal. The transgender person, let's see here, can never let her guard down, for that is when she does her job, that is all at stake. All that is known, let's see here, all that known, she stand by, ready to judge her. I think that's very true. One would have to be transgender to realize that, the judgment upon them. Her very life can be at risk because of the cruelty of some, the entire planet. One day, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second at a time, second after second, minute after hour, day after day. She has to face the scrutiny of people born with everything that matches up. All your ducks lined up in a row. And, you know, she's tired of hearing about yet another transgender person. Let me make sure that you're able to see this here. I want to make sure that, okay. To pick up here where I left off, the transgender person must pass 100% of the time just to be normal. Transgender person can never let her guard down for what she does. Her job is at stake. All that know her stand ready to judge her. Her very life is at risk at times, and heaven forbid she can't pass 100% of the time. Right? Her whole existence is one perpetual test of sheer will against the cruelty at times of an entire planet. Now, that's how she sees it. And she mentioned 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, one day after day for the rest of her life. Passing is very, very important to transgender people because of their scrutiny. And finally here, she says, well, we're tired too. You know, like talking about transgender people, we're tired of it too. We're tired of trying to fit in. We're tired of pretending for your benefit. We're tired of explaining ourselves. We're tired of hiding, running, crying for fear of our lives. And we need to, you know, not meet your scrutiny or your standards. We're women, she's a woman, of a transgender experience. And being trans is our natural state of being. Get used to our voices and our presence and our stature in life. We can be or are your mother, your sister, teacher, lawyer, doctor, mechanic, your artist, father, brother. Accept us for who we are. We're not a fad, but we're a stalwart presence since the dawn of time, and we're not going anywhere. Well, I think that's pretty profound, pretty well put. I wanted to share that because I lived in Belgium for a while. I was a student over there at Leuven, or Louvain is English, but Leuven in Dutch. But I could pass, but not until when I opened my mouth. I took a Dutch immersion course, but I'll tell you, you feel like a duck out of water, and that ain't nothing compared to what you just heard. People are trans in this society. Unless we are, we have no idea. I have a trans member in my family. It's why I feel strongly about this topic. So I wanted to just talk about acceptance and how difficult that can be. Thank you for listening. And keep learning. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was muted. Well, let me just play that back. I was questioning whether I was going to even do this stream because of the news that came out of Minneapolis, which is very profound and jarring. And when news like that hits me, I just begin to step back and reflect, try to take account of what took place completely unnecessarily. Great tragedy, 37-year-old woman killed in her car. I guess she was told to move her car. She started to, and then she was shot. I hope everything that actually happened, the truth, ultimately will come out. Right now, we're getting a lot of very disparaging ideas and thoughts being thrown around, and there's lots of video to examine, lots of voices of testimony to hear from, and I'm hoping that we'll get the full truth and nothing but the truth. But anyway, it almost made me feel like not doing this today. I had it kind of ready to go earlier today, and then I heard about that terrible tragedy in Minneapolis. But anyway, so does anybody want to come up on panel? I did have one other thing I wanted to mention. That was the other night, Samara. Do transgender people revert back to their former gender if they stop taking their hormone therapy? No, that does not happen. There was some suggestion that does happen. There are things that complete SRS or gender transformation is not reversible. Generally, there are some who have done that. But there are things, for example, male to female, taking estrogen and what do they call it, hormone blockers and anti-androgen. There are reversible effects if stopped, and some things are not. But in a trans woman, a male to female, breast development is mostly going to stay with you. Body fat distribution, there may be some modest, reversibility on some of that. I know someone who had implants. You can take the implants out. There's various things that you can do. Loss of muscle mass, that can be partially reversible. Facial hair, if you have that done, it's mostly permanent. Your voice at a higher pitch, that's pretty much permanent. So a lot of emotional changes and libido we hear about with anyone who's being affected by hormonal swings and changes. Yeah, we know how that, but if you were to go back to the hormone regimen, that perhaps you'd be back on track. But basically, it's permanent. When someone transitions, that's it. If you're female to male, then the penis is going to be used to create the new vagina. Look, I'm not an expert on all of this, believe me, but can that be reversed? I think that is one of the areas that is probably the most challenging. I don't know if it's ever been done. But the reality is, this is the good news, less than is like 0.4 of the 1% wants to revert back. 99.6% of people who transition are very happy and content with the decision they've made. And some of the others who perhaps want to change back, there's an awful lot of concern about emphasis on, is society and church and religion putting pressure on that person. And that was part of the problem. When I heard the other night was that people are saying that God makes mistakes. I don't think this has really much of anything to do with God. For those of you who do or do not believe in a higher power or an infinite creator or whatever you want to describe God as love, I don't think it has the darn thing to do with God. And I don't think I've never heard anyone use that excuse, and I'm certainly going to just simply mention that I think that people make changes, not because of mistakes. Things happen. I dealt with 2 birth defects. People are born sometimes without arms and legs. Can they be helped? Well, depends upon what medical science is capable of offering. So anyway, not to keep running off the mouth. Anybody want to come up here and let's see. Pepper says, I have a friend who had started hormone therapy. He had to have breast reduction when he decided midway into it he wanted to stay male. Yeah. I know of someone else in that same situation. And when we hear about that, that's usually what people talk about, or that's something that, just like car accidents. Oh, somebody had a car accident on Interstate 5 here in Seattle today. The reality is hundreds of thousands of other cars did not. And the vast majority of people who have been, who have received gender affirming or sexual reassignment surgery have not had a problem and are very completely happy with, and very happy they have done so. So we always have to keep that in mind and put it into perspective of the vast majority of people in this situation. Let's see. Dolly says, none of that matters, Stellar. The brain doesn't change with or without drugs. Well, I am learning more and more about the science of the brain, which is neurology. And I am in no way pretending to know what I'm talking about. But brain chemistry is important, I know, for those that dispense drugs to those who maybe are dealing with one form or another of psychological disequilibrium or a mental condition, something like that, can actually really help. That it's a very delicate field where everybody's an individual and amounts are critical and so many other factors go into it. I don't know much more than that. But yes, Dolly, they still feel male or female. For the most part, in vitro, during gestation, during the period of time that human beings are growing, that low middle part of the 9 months within the mother's womb, that's when the brain is starting to receive a great deal of its, what's the word I should use? Its orientation. Its orientation. And as I say, the human brain, without any surge of hormones, by itself is a default female. So for those who had I had a sudden surge of hormones when I was in my mother's womb, and that made my brain orientate as male. I mean, you can look all this stuff up. I'm not making anything up. This is all, I don't have that kind of brilliance, but I can read and I can learn, and I recommend highly that everyone try to look into as much as possible. And again, I think sometimes it's as simple as, we've never had anything as easy as AI and ChatGPT and Perplexity and some of these other avenues of software that allow us to have the entire internet surveyed. And not to say that they don't make mistakes, because I know in the field that I do know a fair bit about, I have found some errors. But by and large, it seems to be pretty, and they give you the sources from which they try to answer your inquiries as well, which is really good. And Pepper says he struggled with his decision, still is conflicted. I pray for him and his inner struggle. Yeah, it's very, very difficult. You know, human sexuality is not, it's not two extremes. John Wayne on one side, and let's just say, for the sake of argument, Cyndi Lauper on the other. It is extreme masculinity and John Wayne extreme femininity. And there's all points in a continuum on that line that represents male and female. And vive la différence. I think it's wonderful that we do have, we can celebrate diversity. In my study in theology, if you study angels, right? And you look at those who have done creative portraits, paintings, and work with statues and so on, they're almost always depicted as androgynous. Androgynous. Meaning not extremely male, not extremely female, but somewhere in the middle. Almost to say that it's unidentifiable. Maybe the best of both. The best of both. we've been studied when I was in seminary, androgeneity is that God is not male or female. God is not a man or a woman. He's not some bearded guy up in the sky. That's what they call anthropomorphizing. We're trying to make God into our human likeness when he made us in his likeness. We got it backwards. But it's really important, I think, to just realize that we don't understand fully what's going on. But we're learning more all the time. And for me, the final court of appeal is the human brain. My mother, as I say, she had breast cancer, and her breast mastectomy were removed. Did she for 1 minute think of herself as not a woman anymore? No. She identified completely as a woman. A man gets his testicles blown off in war. Does the man stop thinking of himself as a man? No. The final court of appeal, as I tend to call it, is within the human brain, is how you identify, where the source of why you believe how you do about yourself. Anyway, does anybody want a link to come up? If anyone does, you get your own unique link. I don't use the same software a lot of other people do. My software is from Australia. It's called VMix, V-M-I-X. And I'm just getting one ready if anybody would like to come up and join me on panel. Dolly, I forgot to drop you a link. So anyway, just type in the side chat there, send me a link, and I will do that. So if anybody wants to come up and join in the conversation a little bit. I just did this because I wanted to just maybe give you my input, maybe make a few corrections of things that I knew were not right. I'm not here to beat up on anybody. We all have what we have. It's a nest of information. We don't know it all. I certainly don't. But if we're willing to learn together and we can learn from each other, that's very healthy. That's very good. And we don't have to come at it from you're dumb and I'm not, or I'm dumb and you're smarter than me. We don't have to, put each other down. We can simply say, I have come to believe, and what I have come to believe is based on this, and let me share it with you, and leave it at that. We don't have to make a big thing of it. We can leave people with their beliefs as well. What's wrong with that? Let's see. Pepper says, it's been proven that you were born with brain chemistry of what you feel as male or female. Yeah, and now studying a latent gene that some trans people have also. It's not a choice you're born with. Yeah, choosing, no. I suppose they might say, well, I'm choosing to go through with the surgery. Yeah, that's a decision. But as far as what the purpose for it would be is, yes, there's no decision there. They feel as they are. That's for sure. Let's see. Oh, Phil, come on. I did watch a little bit. I didn't get through it all. It was a fairly lengthy video that Miller made, I guess, having to respond to Ash. I've got to come out with a big, long response to Ash at some point as well. She was speaking about me recently, and I thought we kind of smoothed things over, but I guess we never completely do that. But again, we don't have to respond to everything either. It's a choice. We may be able to, but it doesn't mean we have to. Let's see. Let's see. Pepper says, love and real companionship is very rare to find. If you're lucky enough to find, if you grab on and hold tight with whomever you find it with, it's to be cherished and not mocked. Absolutely. Yeah. I was having a really fascinating talk with someone just last night. I won't mention who it is because that would be indiscreet, Dolly. But we were talking about, I think she'll be okay with me telling this, but when we move on, I don't believe in death. I believe it's transition. Sure, there's death to the human bag of skin we all have, but when we move on, I really believe that we will retain everything, and that's why we're here. It's a school, isn't it? We're going to learn. and that will go with us. I remember a French philosopher said that all we take with us when we die is just so many good deeds we can hold in our hand. What did you do with your life? And being open-minded and tolerant of others, and find out why can we live together peacefully in this world, even though we may have varying feelings and thoughts. And I think we're capable of that, and this is one of those conversations. Mostly it's born out of a lack of knowledge, because transgenderism is not something most people are familiar with to any great extent. I have a transgender family member. If I didn't, I don't think I'd be probably as interested or take the time to get to know this field a little bit. I certainly don't know it all, but we're living in the same world with people. We pass by them on the street and we don't realize, and I'm telling you the God honest truth, there are women you're passing by on the street that were born male in terms of genitalia. Their brains were probably always female. So if someone says to me, make the distinction, Joe, I would say if you're born with a female brain, and we can determine that, I'd say you're female. We have to adjust everything else, to meet the mind, which is the final arbiter, in my opinion. But we had a great talk, and we talked about, ultimately, we shed this human condition, but we take with it in our soul what is valuable, and which is eternal, and ultimately which is love. And we continue to pick up where we left off. Nobody dies totally good or bad. And some people die pretty nasty. I won't mention names, but there's some people that are living their life rather poorly, in my opinion. Trying not to judge here, but seems obvious. I'm talking politics now, and that's just me. That's my view. What's going to happen when they die? Well, justice would have it. They'll pick up where they left off. How else could it be? I don't think there's any free passes given, but that's a whole other long conversation, but maybe one that we'll have sometime. I'm really hopeful that someday we'll have a conversation about the big guy, gal, person, G-O-D. And wouldn't it be great to invite God into the conversation? Like I said earlier, if we're going to talk about racism, let's invite people of color. And if we want to talk about God, let's invite God. And how would we do that, right? Well, there are several ways. Let's see. Anybody want a link? Did I miss anybody? Jeff? Jeff, you want to come up? Phil? Dari? Pebbles? Who else here? Dolly? Anybody. I don't care. If anybody want to come up on panel, you're welcome to. Absolutely no discrimination here. Of course, if someone porn bombs me, well, that never happens because the software, nobody goes out with their camera on. It just does not happen, so I don't really worry about that. If people want to turn their cameras on, that's up to them. But I don't, that's not a default in this program, so nobody would be able to, even if you had your camera on, you wouldn't be seen. We'd have to set that up ahead of time. Oh, Dari, excuse me, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. It's an unfinished symphony. There's a lot more to be said. And if there isn't anybody coming up, I might just wrap up with it as it is. I might get something to eat for dinner. Thank you. I really need maybe I should have, I don't know if she wants one, but a conversation with Samara. I don't know, you run across things. I did a screenshot in October of 24, which is about a year and 4 months ago or so. And it's funny what people think of you when you pay attention and you're watching. And you just kind of sit back and maybe you don't type in anything. No one knows if you're there or not. And then suddenly you're the topic of conversation, and it's like, oh, here we go. What's going to be said? And there are people that either like you or don't, for whatever reasons. And I always find it kind of challenging. Is like, why do some people perhaps think of you in an adverse way when you've actually had no, to speak of, any serious interaction with them? But that happens more often than not. And I think, the old expression of poisoning the well, I think that does happen sometimes. People, for whatever reason, they don't even have to have a reason, may or may not like any one of us. And then they'll talk to so-and-so, and then that person will say, oh, okay, then I won't like that person either. That's how petty we are, we humans. But, sometimes if we choose to, if it's valuable to us, if we think it's worth our time, we might talk to someone about it. But it's up to us. It really is. Oh, Jason, thank you. And Dory, thank you as well. A flesh and blood guy here. Made plenty of mistakes. If I could have a redux, I would do it. Some do-over. I've been, like I mentioned the other day, I've been on YouTube for a little over 11 years, and I've made 11 years worth of mistakes. I have, and if I could change some things, I would definitely do that. I have learned, and I've learned the hard way. But hey, that's the ultimate thing. Have we learned something? Have we made changes correspondingly to help us do things better? And I would like to think that I've tried to do that. But I certainly am human like the rest of you, and we make mistakes. All we can do is try to understand each other, and if possible, forgive each other, and just be kind. And like I say, rewind. Be kind and rewind. Remember those old days of rewinding the tapes? Let's see. Pebble says, I'm having Dolly Parton pot roast. Ooh, nice. Frozen dinners are good, yeah. I don't know if I've ever tried that, but you know what? I have, it's not a pot roast. Well, something like that, and I forgot about it. You just reminded me in my freezer. Jeff says, instincts are natural. Listen to them. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Instincts, I think, are a wonderful, in many ways, objective way of listening in on the universe. And something is trying to speak to us. And that's always a very healthy thing to do. Abraham Lincoln said, I love to quote Lincoln, he said, listen to the better angels of your nature, because you have angels that are always not of the better nature. And we have that tension going on inside of each one of us. Listen to the better ones. So let's see. We got 15 concurrent viewers. That's actually pretty good for me. I have to be doing a little bit of drama for that to happen. Let's see. One sec here. I'm trying to see if I have any music to send us out with. I played a video for anybody who arrived late. At the very beginning, I usually play a song, a cover or something. But today I did it's an op-ed the New York Times did on transgenderism in the military. And if you didn't see it or you weren't here for it, it's very much worth your while. Well, Holly welcomed you. Good to see you. Very nice to have you with us. We're kind of winding down a little bit, and I'm just looking for, I don't know if I have any music here set up ready to go. I might. I don't see it yet. I usually play my homegirl with the purple hair that Dolly likes. What's the name of that group? Biscuit. Good to see you. I don't know if I ever pronounced that correctly. Oh, you lost respect for me. Okay, well, that's okay. Maybe we should talk. We can figure it out. If we do let each other down or we disrespect something said and we don't like, the worst thing to do is to remain silent. So I'm glad you spoke up. I really am. But I don't know when you came in. I didn't see you earlier. If you picked up on this at the very end but didn't take the whole thing in, I would recommend that. Most of what I do, I think what I'm known for, is I try to do good fact-checking. I would pride myself on using good sources. That's very important. I'm not just up here talking on a whim. If I say anything, I'm going to be able to back it up from somewhere. So I just think that's very important. Oh, it had nothing to do with transgenderism. Okay, you'll have to help me out here. I don't know. In fact, if you want to come up on panel, I don't know if you want to, but you're welcome. I'll send you a link. We can talk about it, or we can do it privately, however. If anybody ever wants to talk to me privately, I'll just mention, if you go to my About page, my YouTube About page, my public email is there, and you're welcome to email me. That's one way to privately. We don't always have to do it publicly, but we can address things. So I don't know, Phil. I am curious. I don't know what it is about. Daria. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that very much. You're only as good as your sources are, and you're only as good as the school you attend. And, it'd be great if everybody attended an A-rated institution and we got the very best now present insights of scholarship from whatever area we're studying, but that doesn't always happen. Life is full of change. Sometimes what yesterday's insights are going to be surpassed by tomorrow's. So we all look back with humble conviction saying, well, I learned something. What I knew back then was the best I knew at that time. Okay, thank you, Biscuitit. I hope that's pronounced right. Or it's supposed to be also like biscuit or something. I'm not sure. Thank you. I'll look for my email for you, for your message. So yeah, it's just if we all had the same information and we all tapped into the same sources, we might be more closely aligned in our belief system. But it might also get kind of boring. Imagine if we all thought the same thoughts. I think one of the things that brings about human progress is the fact that we don't all think alike. When I used to teach adults, most of my adult life was working in the church, but I would tell people, take an imaginary bag and put all your biases in the bag, leave it outside the door, and bring back in only an open mind and heart, because that's where learning begins, with the humility to put aside for the moment what we have believed in the past. A lot of people are waiting to hear, okay, Stella, get to it, and they're waiting for me to get to what they believe. And then when they do, they rejoice. Yay, Stella is finally there. I just think that the now present insights of today will be surpassed by tomorrow's, because human beings are people with finite abilities, and we learn all the time. One of the key components of being alive on this earth is that we're going to learn, and hopefully from each other. And that's a splendid thought, and it's humble, because you know what? I'm gonna be a better human being than I was yesterday if my mind is open and my heart is open. I'll learn from you. You can be my teacher. Daria says the problem is when someone does know better, okay, but they can't say otherwise due to pride, shame. Yes, I've dealt with that myself. Don't want to be the odd one out. Yeah. I absolutely confess to that, Daria. I really do. I've often said that friendship is best described in a way when we say that in our friendships we want to bring out the best in our friends, not simply rubber stamp their bad behavior, or they rubber stamp my bad behavior. That's not friendship. That's simply going along for the ride and trying not to rock the boat, and a missed opportunity of us to become better human beings. But there's a caveat in here because it's very dangerous. I did this online several times over the years, and people have turned on me. In fact, one had to do with transgender, because a person I knew that I was acquainted with, somewhat friends, I said, you're being very transphobic. Don't do that. Come on, you're better than that. Oh, for the next 3 or 4 years, the person threatened me with death. I'm not kidding. I don't know if I took it seriously, but oh man, was there a change of heart there. I cannot go along with what my heart says is not right. And if I have a true friend, they're going to say, I see what you're trying to do, Joe. You have my best interest. And I hope they'll do that for me. I'd love it for anybody to say, hey, Stellar, I really think you blew it tonight. And here's why. and to say it in such a way that is not too, destructive of me. And I'll listen, and I'll be open, and I'll try to, because the purpose of me being here on this Earth platform is simply to grow. And growth is challenging. Yeah? They always say rough seas make good sailors, and that's really true. So if we're going to grow, we got to go through some rough seas, with each other especially. Ignorance can be bliss in some instances. Yes, so all of this is part of the beautiful human. Yeah, well, it makes it interesting. If we were born into a world where all of the information is made known to us and we didn't have to, it would be like a stagnant swamp. There'd be no new discoveries. We'd be kind of just, no surprise. Life is amazing when we look at it like through the eyes of a child. And what springs from the eyes of a child is wonderment, amazement, like, oh my goodness. And I think that's why Jesus said, unless you become like a little child, you're not entering my kingdom. Word for word, full stop on that, because that's what is important, that we put aside our pride, and we're open and willing to, like you said, undergo the beautiful human experiences out there. But many people, I've said this, in fact, recently, Anthony DeMello, one of my favorite mentors, he's passed on now, but a psychologist and a Jesuit priest, he said that people are born asleep, they go to school in their sleep, they get married in their sleep, they go to work in their sleep, they breed children in their sleep, and they die in their sleep, never fully waking up to the beauty and wonderment of life all around them. And what does that really mean? It sounds kind of awesome, but it means that we have to truly awaken to who we are. It's an inside job, and when we do that, the biases fall away, the biases toward transgender people. You begin to say, that isn't someone that I think is breaking biblical law, that's a friend I haven't met yet. What a different approach. But it begins with us, really. It begins with each one of us. Let's see, what else here? Holly, 8 months ago I had my first awakening. I see things, yeah, I think so too. I always use the example of this woman who always looked out the back bay window of her house and saw her cherry tree in the backyard, and she looked at it day after day. There's the tree, there's the tree. One day she looked out at the same tree and she said, oh my God, look at that tree. The reason being that she woke up. Sometimes when we look out at Mother Nature, and in the tree sits all kinds of winged creatures that are beautiful, and we miss so much. And the reason is that I always say there's a process of subtraction that has to take place. We have to remove what's preoccupying us and stands in the way of our being awake, of our seeing things and our vision of what life is really, what's really going on. And when we do that, we become happier. And we realize what a blessing it is where we are. And a word that comes to my mind would be gratefulness, gratitude, gratefulness for what we have been given, which oftentimes just simply goes over our heads, sadly, because we're not awake to them. Dolly, more is not a bad word here in my mouth. I want to just underline with a big black marker what Dolly is saying. Yes, what comes out of her mouth. I would actually, Dolly, I 200% agree with you. My dog is sure antsy. What, you need to go outside? What's going on? She's been fed. She's not hungry. But, well, I've appreciated this little fireside chat. We don't have any snow here, so my fireplace fireplace isn't going, and or the gas insert behind me. I have a wood stove downstairs, but no need for it. It's been a mild winter so far. Really has. Hush, Stella. So I don't see any. The blue-haired lady and Dolly loves her too. They're in a group called IMY2, which stands for. I'll type it in here. So let's see. IMY2. That stands for I miss you too. I miss you too. Thank you, Pebbles. Is a music group of a 30-something, late 30-something lead singer female with two males in the background, one on the piano, one on the guitar, and they make beautiful music. So if you, even here on YouTube, if you just do a search on YouTube for IMY2, you'll meet a group that I think it might be one of Dolly's favorite groups. Certainly is mine. They make some beautiful music. They do a lot of covers, and they make some of their own as well. And the lead singer is out. She's out, so she'll be a heartbreaker for all you guys. But she is out. And so anyway, I can't find any music. I had usually I have something. And I don't see any. I'm looking at it sideways. It's kind of hard to see. So I guess I'm going to have to just send this out this way. I miss you too, Stella. That was, they're a wonderful group. They really are. Phil says, Biscuit, do you draw the guitar in your avatar? It's very good. Yeah, it is nice, isn't it? I noticed that as well. Well, hey, thank you all for being here. Mommy Mars, hi. Good, welcome to you. I'm sorry, I'm just winding down. Like I say, I would love to have anybody join me on panel. Nobody likes the talking head, and I do that too much, and I don't want to. But I need you to decide that it's safe to go up. Stellar's not going to grab your social security number or anything else, because I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. So, but if you're willing to, maybe in future streams, because you're the show, it's not just about me. And I'd love to have you up here, and nobody has to agree with anything I say. That's for doggone sure. So, and if anybody has any ideas about future topics that you'd like me to cover, I'm way open to that. I would love to hear from you. And I repeat, my public email is listed on my YouTube About page. So, if you want to look for it, you can contact me that way. I check it every day, I think, mostly. So, have a great evening, Pebbles, and Mommy Mars, Dolly, everybody, Phil, all of you. Thank you for being here. And that's it. We're going to go out quiet tonight, unless you want to hear me sing something. Oh, thank you, Mommy Mars. Janie, I've known her for years. She's wonderful. Absolutely. I learn something from her all the time. She's really good. So, okay, we'll see you all later. Have a great rest of the evening. And please pray for the circumstances in Minneapolis and the repose of the woman who died, a 37-year-old woman. I think her name is Rachel. I have to kind of look more into that. And remain at peace as best you can. Many things infuriate us, but now's the time for us to reach deep down within ourselves and bring out the very best that we are.